What was your thoughts when your newly husband just came back and said, I want to quit my job and go into YouTube?
So it didn't necessarily happen where he quit his job to do YouTube. He actually quit his job to take care of the kids.
I don't know how this goes.
That is like a ball. Like a ball.
How's it supposed to go?
Like a ball.
Like a ball? Like a bow?
No, like a ball.
Like a ball. First I go like this. Got it. Okay.
Mommy always do that.
I know, but can I try?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that how it's supposed to look?
Hi, I'm Yvette.
And I'm Glen.
And we're from Belief in Fatherhood and How Married Are You?
How married are you?
Yo, what's going on, fam? It's your boy, Anthony O'Neal. Welcome back to the table. And I'm so pumped because today, man, I have a special guest. It's my sister, my one and only sister, and her amazing husband, my one and only brother-in-law, Glen and Yvette Henry. What's going on, fam?
What's up, man? We're chilling, man.
Yeah, man, this is the family that has, y'all have a full basketball squad over there. Glen, you're the head coach. Yvette, you're the assistant coach. And Theo is the point guard. He runs everything and does.
He runs the court for sure.
Yo, man. But let's rewind. Glen, when I first met you, man, you was cool people, man. And then you scared the heck out of me when you said you're going to quit your job and go into the YouTube space full time. And, you know, I've never said, Glen, I disagree with you because you're a grown man and you're married to my sister. And I'm like, yo, that's his house. But over here, I'm like, what is he thinking? Leaving a job, going to YouTube. What was your thoughts when your husband just came back and said, I want to quit my job and go into YouTube?
Yeah. So the crazy thing is, it was actually, so it didn't necessarily happen where he quit his job to do YouTube.
Okay.
He actually quit his job to take care of the kids. So it was around the time that I was pregnant with our second child, and we were looking into childcare for 2 kids. And it was kind of like, man, babe, like, you hate your job.
Like it felt, it was a mortgage. It was like a rent, like
to take care of your kids. Yeah. And so it was kind of like, I mean, your income would basically be washed with childcare payments or whatever. So I was like, what if you just stayed home and take care of the kids? And at first he kind of was taken aback by that suggestion.
Yeah, I wasn't for it. It didn't feel manly. It didn't feel right. It felt like, you know, I don't know. Like it just didn't, I didn't feel like that was my position.
Yeah.
You know?
And when we told a lot of people that, like when he did come to terms with like, this is actually not a bad idea.
Well, it was crazy because a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I know when they got home, they was like, "You heard what they gonna do over there? They finna be broke." You know what I'm saying? So
no, not broke, but just like the man is staying home.
Yeah, like I think it was
back. People saw it as being backwards.
Yeah,
like, shouldn't Yvette
sure.
quit her job and take care of the kids?
Yeah.
Why would Glen do that?
Well, she was making all the money.
And had health insurance.
Yeah, and had health insurance, right?
But anyway, he eventually came around to the idea, and he did that. And then it came to the point where you can kind of talk about what happened with you sharing some Vine?
So
Was it
I was getting like kind of sad because I didn't really understand what was normal for a stay-at-home dad. And I was like, why is this stuff happening? And no one would believe me if I told them. So I just started recording video on my phone. And it became something that as I shared the videos, people were like, man, this is so good. This is so funny and so true. You should share more of this. You should start a YouTube channel. And I was already doing music kinda. So I was making some money from home, but it became like, there was a thing where I was kind of like, I'm just gonna go ahead and make a YouTube channel and make a YouTube video, like videos. And Yvette was kind of looking at me kind of like, what?
Yeah, so honestly, I wasn't familiar with YouTube in the way that he was familiar with it. Because my background is I was a math teacher at the time. And so whenever I went on YouTube to kind of look up things for math. I used it as an educational resource. I didn't know that it was a regular thing for people to be sharing their lives on YouTube on a daily basis. So then he brought that idea up and I was like, what? nah, I wasn't for it.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the idea of our children being shared online like that with the internet. I didn't like the idea of me being online. And the way that Glen is, he doesn't really have very much of a filter.
He really does.
So it's kind of like he wasn't like, he was like, well, I know you don't agree with this, but I'm going to kind of move forward with this anyway and do it. And so that's what he did. And so I would like be shying away from the camera. Whenever he had the camera out, I would kind of like duck and cover. And I was noticing too that he would like be filming stuff and my bra would just be hanging on the doorknob, or like the house was just
clean.
a mess.
It was a mess.
It was just like, do you care about how you're putting us out there? I felt like it was a reflection of me and how well I took care of our home, and he was putting me on blast for not doing a good job. So I was very uncomfortable with the idea. But he just kept doing it.
Yeah, because like it was one of those things where like you're home and you're trying to figure out how to make it work for you. Mm-hmm. And if she's not home, it's really not her business on how it works for me, because I have to get through it. And I know that now she understands. She's like, you don't get to tell me nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you have your own things you like to be done, but I'm the one I got to deal with it. So don't tell me nothing.
Yeah. So for those of you watching now, I am now the stay-at-home parent. I have since left my job as a teacher. But go ahead.
So y'all were in agreement about Glen coming home to raise the children. But then there was when starting the YouTube Belief in Fatherhood, that was kind of like a weird, like, well, I don't know. I got to ask you, Glen, when you had pushback from your own wife, how did you push through that? Like your own spouse is like, I don't know. Like this is your life right here saying, I don't agree with your vision.
Yeah, I think I the thing is, like, I was having this conversation in my head where it's kind of like, you know, she doesn't believe in this or she doesn't get it. Mm-hmm. But it's not my responsibility for her to get something that's in my head. She has to get what I manifest. Ooh. So the whole point is, like, everybody wants. It's a lot of dreamers out there, right? So dreamers are like, yo, believe it. Do you believe in my dream? Here's my idea. Da-da-da-da. But you didn't put any work in. So you're asking people to believe in a dream that God gave you and not something that you haven't manifested yet. So your responsibility as a dreamer is to manifest something and then allow people to see that. That way they can buy into it. Mm-hmm. So this was all happening in my head. So at first I was discouraged. And I was like, man, I just really like, I want her to partner with me in this, but she was not for it. She didn't get it. And I was just kind of like, cool, I'm just going to do it. And so what was happening was I kept making videos, and then she would look at the video. She would watch them because she didn't know what happened during the day. And so she'd be like, you did all that? You know what I mean? And then she would read some of the comments, and people were saying stuff like, man, I'm 12 years old, and my dad left when I was a baby, and I can't wait to be a dad one day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or like, you know, I haven't talked to my dad in 8 years, but one of your videos made me call him thank you. You know what I mean? So you're talking about reconciliation, and so she started to see what was happening, and she was like, you're actually doing something really, really good here.
Like you're doing the Lord's work. Because it wasn't even just the comments that I was reading, but it was the women who would DM me and say like, man, your family gives me hope.
Wow.
And then like the thing about it that I didn't realize, because it wasn't something that was missing from my life necessarily, but I had examples of successful, like healthy Black families. And a lot of Black people do not have that. Mm-hmm. And I think I was naive to that or ignorant to that tidbit of information. Like I didn't know that people didn't get to see that. And so I didn't realize the value that Glen was adding to other people's lives.
By being authentic and allowing the house to be dirty, because it's true, like your house isn't always clean, and if you front like it is, like it almost what happened with Talitha. Yeah. Remember?
So we had a situation where we had a friend who was coming to watch our kids, and like I had gotten home from work, and I wanted to like make sure dinner was ready for the kids and make sure that I was ready to go and make sure that the house was clean before she came over. But I was like, I'm not going to be able to clean the house. So I texted her to let her know before she got there. I was like, just a heads up, my house is a mess. I'm so sorry.
And then when she got there, you said it again.
And then she was like, it would be like, this is really good for me to see, because it would hurt me to build this expectation in my mind that I'm a working mom of so many kids and my house has to be clean type situation.
Yeah.
So it was like, it helps me to know that this is real life and that I don't have to measure up to something that's not real. And so that was a very enlightening moment for me as well.
And one of the interesting things that, like really hits me is that like I really wanted like people to believe in me. Like that was so important for me. You know what I mean? And like, I honestly knew that God believed in me. Like, God gave me the ability to do the things, and it was nobody else's business.
Yeah.
Like, it then became like, people were asking me why, and then they started asking me how, like in 2 years.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand, it all started with Yvette asking one of the most dangerous questions that you can ask someone. Like, this conversation like rocks me to the core to this day. Before I even started this, I was staying home dad, chilling, making, Pop-Tarts and killing the game. You know what I'm saying? Cheerios and all the things and play fighting and all that stuff. And she goes, babe, what's your 5-year plan? Right? And we were laying in the bed and I was like, I don't know, whatever God has for me, And then she goes, I trust you with my family and my future, and you don't have 5 years planned out? Ooh. And then rolled over and went to sleep. Ooh. She went to sleep, and I just sat there just kind of looking at the ceiling. Popcorn ceiling, it looked messy. You know what I'm saying? You be making like animals out of it, daydreaming and stuff like that. And I was like, I literally don't have 5 years planned out. How do I expect a woman to follow me, a family to follow me, people to follow me, and I don't even have direction in where I'm going?
As a wife, mother, and a woman at that time, because that was shake me to the core too. I'm gonna be real with you, Glenn. But like, what made you ask that question? Why are you thinking about a 5-year plan?
I mean, I'm me, Anthony. I'm an Enneagram 3. Like I like to have a plan. My whole life was planned out from the very beginning, from childhood to adulthood. I knew I was going to be a math teacher who also did this, that, and the other. And I crushed my goals. And so it's interesting because like up to that point, like I had worked my plan and, everything was like it was supposed to be. But then I was watching him and I'm just like, what's your plan? Because at the time he was also doing music. So Glenn is I would say retired rapper, but I still rhyme. He still rhymes. Yeah. And so at the time he was doing that and he was making YouTube videos, and it was just kind of like, where are we going with this? Like, what's going to come of this? Because eventually, like, to be honest with you, I was getting a little bit jealous of the fact that he was home with our kids and I wanted to be home with our kids. And so it was like, how are we going to work that out type situation? Yeah. And so
now.
But now he's flipped his script on me and he's asking me the question. And I'm like,
what is your plan? What are you doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what are your goals? Because I got a plan. You know what I mean? Like,
so it's like you protected your vision. You went after that vision. But can you talk to someone right now? How do they know when is the right time to protect their vision and to just give up on that vision? Because there's a lot of people who should give up on some of their goals because they're just not profitable. But then there are some who need to fight for it, like what you did, and it could really become something. How do you decide between the two?
Man, that's a really, really deep question because I know people who I'm still like, yo, you gotta stop. Like, you gotta stop. This has to end.
Yeah.
And I'm the person in their life that they're like, nah, God told me to not pay attention to you. And I'm like, but God told me to tell you that you trash, right?
Gosh, trash?
At this thing, you're really not good at it.
Okay.
Right? And
okay.
You know what I'm saying? You might have a couple people you're supposed to hit with it, but this ain't what you're supposed to put all your time into.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really personal conversation that I can't give a blanket answer to. Now, there's an amount of fruit to be measured. You know what I mean? So what you want to do is you got to have some people in your life who can have really honest conversations with you and that can tell you the truth about yourself. This is not the person who wants to be on American Idol and their mom tells them they're the best singer in the world. You know what I'm saying? And then they go on TV and they're kind of like, no, buddy, you are not the one, you know? So I think having real friends to be like, I don't see where this is going, right? There is an unfair advantage that I have, okay? One, I already know music and storytelling, right? So I was already good at that. So that was my background. And I already knew how to present myself on camera because of stage. So the one thing I didn't know how to do was edit. So I had to learn a lot about editing. You know what I mean? But I put a lot of time in. Mind you, I made my first video in June. The channel didn't start until October. So I spent the summer working and making different videos and episodes that haven't even come out and people have never seen that I was just getting feedback on. I had a friend who worked in television. And I was like, hey, what do you think about this? What part is boring? Where do you see this? You know, I had people who were like, hey, like the audio's bad here. You got to figure out what to do with your audio. And then there's another thing was kind of like, I really don't have anything else to lose. Right. So I'm starting from the bottom. So my dream didn't jeopardize her life. Right. It didn't jeopardize. It wasn't like I quit my job and was like, I'm going to do this. And people were really depending on my income. You know what I'm saying? Like I literally was chilling. And I was like, I need to figure out how to amplify this. And so there was a lot I was very considerate about. So with all those things in the equation, it was easy for me to just say, okay, I'm going to start now. You know what I mean? And we're just going to see what happens. And I had really visible goals. So my first goal was, all right, before I start the channel, I want to hit 1,000 subscribers, right? And I had like 900 before I started the channel because I premiered it on P4CM and I was pushing it on Instagram. Like a lot of people were like, oh, I can't wait for this thing to start. Then it was like, okay, by the new year, I want to hit 5,000 subscribers. And then by the new year, I think I was at like 4,200. You know what I mean? So I kept having these goals. And the whole goal was, right, she asked me for a 5-year plan. I didn't know my 5-year plan. I sat down with a buddy. He said, what's your 5-year plan? I said, I don't know. He said, what's your 10-year plan? He said, I don't know. I said, I don't know. He said, 15-year. I said, well, I know by the time I'm 45, I don't want to be rapping. In Minnesota, like talking about put your hands up to like 10 people. I'm not trying to do that. So he's like, what are you trying to do? I said, I want to be telling people how great it is to be a father. So he said, okay, well, how often do you have to post on these platforms to grow to this amount of money? He said, how much money do you want to make? I said, I want to make $300,000 a year. That's how much I want to make off of speaking and telling people and writing books. He said, okay. Well, we did all the math and we said, okay, 2 times a day on Twitter, once a day on Instagram, once a week on YouTube, and we did it all like that. He was like, okay, well, in 15 years, you should be able to do this. Now, my plan was for 15 years, not 5. 2 years later, I hit all those goals.
Yeah.
Not the money goals.
I just got goosebumps.
I wasn't making $300,000 a year in 2 years, but like all those other goals, like I did a TED Talk, I wrote a book, I was speaking all across the country, like it just happened like that because I had a plan. So here's one of the things. It's like if you have a goal and you have a dream, stop telling me about it. Stop telling us about it. Tell a couple people, and then after that, it's important to protect your genius, which means you have to actually put in the work and you have to make something. And then let me see what you make. Ooh. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, you can give it to your audience. Yeah. And then let your audience see. Now, once you give it to your audience, it's no longer yours. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Your audience takes it and they become inspired by it. Yeah. You know? And so once you let go of that art, it's someone else's.
Bro, you just said a mouthful right there, bro, that, dude, we don't have enough time on the show to unpack all that. Because it was like, what you said to me was so dope is pretty much be quiet, get some goals on paper, and go put in the work. And then let the fruit of your work do the talking for you. Because that's clearly what you Did, bro, because like I'm telling you, I've watched you from when I first met you, when we went to breakfast that day, and you had dreads back then. And the man you are today, I've never questioned, will you be successful? I just always watched you. And I'm like, can't say nothing about my brother-in-law. The dude is working. He's winning. When I'm on a stage, I get off the stage, people ask me, how's Glen? How's Yvette? How's the chocolate babies? And I'm in the other side of the world, and I'm like, the fruit of your being quiet, getting your goals down on paper, getting your 5-year goals, and just putting in the work has paid off, not just for you, but for my sister, for my nephews, for my niece, and you're blessing the world, man. So talk to that young person right now to where, they're seeing your success. They are saying, okay, I see Yvette and Glen, they're winning, they have this amazing family, they're making good money, they're successful, I see it, but what about me? I'm feeling discouraged right now. I don't know if I can win. People are telling me I shouldn't go after it, or I have this little idea, it hasn't taken off yet. Encourage that person right now who feels a little discouraged, man, that 18 to 30, 34-year-old person.
That's definitely that's our whole fan base. Like that's 75% of our fan base is that age. And so I would have to say, don't be attracted to the symptoms of success. Okay?
Yeah.
So when you see me and you see a commercial, or you see a viral post, or you see, some type of accolade, those are symptoms.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're productive. Those aren't goals. You know what I mean? So don't get confused by, they have all this success, they have all this movement, they have all this traction, and I'm just sitting here getting my little 200 or 100 likes per post. You know what I mean? And what am I doing wrong? Those things, like, you can't measure success by symptoms. You have to measure it by where it comes from, right? And so where it comes from is working when everybody's asleep. Working when people don't get it, people don't understand, when you can't figure out how to splice two pieces of video together, when you have to, save up and spend that money for that piece of equipment that you want to get.
Yeah.
You got to understand, like, I started on broken iPhones, all broken. And the reason why, right?
Yeah.
They all had cracked screens. The only thing that worked on the iPhones were camera.
Yep.
And so I would stick them all in the headrest of the seats. And while we were driving, I just filmed. And sometimes I'll be filming and look back and be like, that thing ain't even recording.
Yeah.
I gotta daggone start over the conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, broken hard drives and computers and all types of stuff. It's a lot of that is where the success is. What you're willing to do in spite of what is happening. And so I would just say, like, continue to win on your own with no one watching. Win the battles late at night. Go to sleep early, read the right books. Stop looking for cosigns. Stop looking for, hey, can you shout out my channel? That is corny.
Yes.
No, I will not. You know what I mean? No, I will not. Now, will I spend some time looking at your channel and telling you, hey, man, this is what you need to be doing?
Yep.
I'll see you in 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
Come back when you've done something.
Yep.
But, like, don't try to take the cheap way out. Hey, I'll pay you $100 or hey, I'll send you a shirt. Can you wear it? Like, no.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a disservice to you, because then you're going to think that anybody who has a little success is going to owe you something because you watch their channel. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's good what you just said, bro, because I call you often to get wisdom from you and Yvette on, like, what should I do? And just recently, one of the conversations she told me was like, hey, yo, I think you should really hit that single market. And every time I post something about singles, it just goes boom. And so I love how what you're saying there is, come to me for wisdom and guidance and go put in the work. Don't ask me to give you anything, but go out there, ask for help. Go out there and ask for wisdom. Go out there and ask for some constructive criticism, and then take it back and just go put in the work, And so, man, that's definitely you and Yvette. If you guys, if you just now tuned in, you're watching The Table. I'm having a conversation with the legendary Glen and Yvette Henry, the founders and the visionaries behind Belief in Fatherhood. If you have not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And if you have not subscribed to their channel, go check them out, especially if you want to be a strong stay-at-home father or just a father in general. Check my brother and sister out. So Glen Yvette, one of the things I've challenged my tribe to do this year is to read at least one book a month, listen to a podcast a week, and to consume content that will help you grow. And so I'm reading Demic Time. I've actually read 3 books this month, actually. And so I'm always on the show asking people, what are you learning? What is something that you've learned that has helped you become a better man, wife, father, mother, human being, follower of Christ? Like, what is something that has blessed you and helped you become a better individual? You take some time to share with our audience.
What do you want to talk about?
I'm reading 2 books right now. One book that I'm reading is The Road Back to You, which is about your Enneagram numbers. Another book that I'm reading is called Stay by Angelique Pascal. And I think the biggest thing, the thing that both books have in common is that I feel like they're kind of bringing me back to myself. They're books that cause me to be self-reflective and just kind of dig deeper into my thoughts and feelings about who I am. My word of advice, I want to kind of go back to that really quick if you don't mind.
Yeah.
But I was going to encourage, encourage everybody, but I specifically would like to encourage women listening and watching to just kind of be true to yourself. Not kind of, but be true to yourself. I feel like we live in a day and time when I often compare the days we're living in now to the days that my mom was living in, where now we get to see what everyone's doing in their home. We get to see the highlight reel versus back then, there was none of that. We didn't know what was really going on in the homes of other people. And I feel like because we get to see that, there's this expectation that we're building within ourselves to kind of measure up to something that we are, there's this expectation to measure up to this ideal person that we're building in our heads based off of what we're seeing on social media. And so for me right now, I feel like I've started therapy. I've been reading these 2 books that I mentioned to you, and it's just allowing me to really kind of dig deep and come back to who I am and who I want to be versus what I feel like the world is telling me. Because it's not necessarily that the world is telling me to be this person, but it is I'm taking all this stuff in, and in my head I'm building this ideal woman, this ideal wife, this ideal mother, this ideal businesswoman that I'm supposed to be, but not really kind of staying true to who I am. So I feel like authenticity is key. Yeah. And that if there are people that you are following on social media, be careful, because I feel like sometimes I heard this one woman talk about it, and I don't remember how she said it exactly. But there is a difference between someone who inspires you and then you trying to be them.
You're trying to imitate.
You're trying to imitate them. You don't want to imitate them. You want to feel inspired by them. And so I don't know. I just feel like for me, I like to protect my heart. And so some people on social media, I have to mute them or I just have to take a break from social media or whatever. But I just feel like it's really important for us all to be true to who we are and kind of get back to the root of that or the heart of that.
As far as books, I've been stuck on the same book for a long time. And the reason why this book is so important is because it rings so true. I've had to learn how to do business, and I've never been good at it. It's, historically, I've always kind of been hey, I'm an artist, creative. You know what I mean? But now Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand has been the book that literally has stopped me in my tracks and has really helped me understand, what I am doing in my business. You know what I mean? And so I read the book, I listened to the podcast, I hired a brand guide, so someone to actually walk my business through that. And so the importance about that is just focusing on understanding how how parables are and how storytelling is the strongest thing ever in the history of anything. You know what I mean? So and how our brands become guides for people, and we are not the heroes, but our clients are the heroes. And so that book has been the thing that has kind of crushed me and challenged me in ways. I'll start another book and be like, man, I'm just gonna go back to Donald Miller, and because it's just so true. And so we are all telling a story, whether we believe it or not. You know what I mean? And so what you are living and your success and failures and how you deal with that is all telling your children a story. It's all telling your community a story. Can you persevere? Is love worth it? Is divorce real? Is that an option for you? And so we often talk about this type of stuff on our podcast, How Married Are You? And that's kind of like where we're going to go, to next is we're going to put ourselves in the forefront so that our children are not the ones who are considered famous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm going to bring in my producer, Connor. He is my man behind, you here, Connor?
Yeah.
Hi.
So,
what up?
So Yvette and Glenn, at the end of the show, what I always do is I always bring in my producer, and he's going to ask us a fun question. And you guys have to be honest with your answer. Okay, I don't know the question. I'll be real with you, but today's conversation has been very good. Yvette, Glenn, you promoted How Married Are You? That's dope. What are some other information you all want my tribes know about you? How can they connect with you all? Drop that real quick before we get into the Save and Cave question. Let y'all get back to my nephews and my niece.
Yeah. Belief in Fatherhood on YouTube and beliefinfatherhood.com. Definitely, we're going to be dropping some content that is solely focused on being a great father and a great husband during this time. So make sure you guys sign up for our email list. And Yvette?
Yeah, I'm Mrs. Melanin on Instagram, and I have a podcast that I started back in January called Yvette Unplugged. So check that out, too.
Check it all out. We'll put the link to all their information below because I definitely got to support my brother and sister. All right. Hey, man, what kind of question you got today, bro?
Well, first, too, I want to recommend to everyone watching, you need to check out Belief in Fatherhood. It's awesome. Some of the most genuine, awesome content you're ever going to watch. All right. So
Thank
back
you.
to you guys. The Save or Cave question is what we call it because we ask a would you rather question, and it's like, would you rather save money by doing this or doing this? And Anthony nobody in this room knows except me, so we can get real reactions and answers. And we also have a poll pop up on YouTube where the viewer can vote, and you can go back and see what the majority voted. I'm going to say this one is a hard one, but I said that last time. And so far, Anthony has not had a hard time with any of these.
I have not.
All right. Would you rather save money by having no fridge, like living without a fridge, or living without an oven or microwave?
Wait, so is it an oven or microwave or both?
It's like anything to heat your food, basically. I mean, you can use a fire, a bonfire. If you just want to stick with oven, we can, but I think that's an easy choice because you're going to go with the refrigerator.
Would you rather save money?
I already know.
I already know, too.
Really?
Hold on.
I need to get better at this.
Would you rather save money without a refrigerator or without something to heat your food up? Okay.
Okay. Can I say mine?
My answer is, I got mine answer too.
All right, what is it?
Let's go to
Same
1, 2, 3. Oven.
Yeah, oven, microwave. I don't want an oven, microwave. I'm good.
Yeah,
No oven or
I need a
microwave?
refrigerator. You need a fridge.
You need a fridge,
No, you don't.
especially if you're a meal
No, you don't.
prepper.
I'm going with
If
no
you're
fridge.
a meal prepper,
Because I'm just gonna buy the food fresh and go home and cook it.
Every day you got to go grocery shopping?
Hey, every day, because you gotta heat up that food,
In the
man.
snow?
You gonna
Yeah,
eat
that's it,
cold
that's it.
chicken?
No, but he said you could use like a grill.
Yeah, you can use a
Like
grill, a fire. You can
fire, right?
No, he said we cannot have anything to heat up our food.
You can use like I said a fire, a bonfire.
yeah, bonfire.
And outside of your house.
Yeah, then I'm with you.
Well, yeah.
Man, I made it
Yeah,
too
I'm
easy.
definitely doing that because, meal prepping is that life. Meal prepping is so you put that food right away, you heat it up later.
He's Mr. Meal Prep right now.
Yeah, but if you can't, but like you can't go to the store every day, man, especially these times. You know what I'm saying? You ain't going to the store every day.
Imagine if another pandemic happens.
Yeah,
Right.
you be in Costco for 7-8 hours.
Hey, man, you right. All right, so if we can have a bonfire, I'm rocking with them too. If I can have a fire, I can do the same thing because heat is heat. So
I can just picture you in your neighborhood, in your backyard, grilling
Bruh.
hot dogs over a fire by yourself.
Bruh,
Your
listen.
neighbor's gonna be wondering what's going on.
hey, man,
What are you
listen,
doing?
I don't have an oven. I don't have a microwave.
I have a pretty cool answer. For me, it would decide on what state I lived in because I used to live in Alaska, where I met my wife, and we would actually keep our food out on the balcony because it keeps cold.
Because it's so
the entire
cold.
time.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Well, how hot does it get? Like, what's the warmest in Alaska?
Well, the average temperature was like 20s. Dude, it would be 35 degrees. I'd be like, this is nice weather. I'm rolling with the windows down, driving with the windows down. But that's a
not
pretty cool
nice.
fact. You can keep your food outside. Store it outside.
I'm a brother.
That is really...
Anything below 30 degrees, I ain't with it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
We're from California.
Yeah.
Well, I'm from
Yeah.
California. You're from Baltimore, but yeah.
You guys got
nah.
perfect weather though.
We
Perfect.
do.
It's pretty great. It's great.
Yo, Yvette,
visit.
Glenn, thank you all so much for spending your time with me, man. I am rooting for you all. You guys know that from over here in Nashville, Tennessee. And man, I just love following y'all's journey from when y'all first got together, from when my sister was born. I remember holding my mama's stomach and rubbing it when Yvette was in her womb and seeing where my sister is now, married to an amazing man who I'm just proud to call my brother-in-law with 4 kids. I'm like, wow. And every time I turn on Spectrum, because I have Spectrum out here, I see my family on there. I'm like, look at God. Yes, sir.
Man.
Yes, sir. Like, boy, I remember when this man, he scared me. But now I'm like, bro, you keep winning.
Man.
Yo, man.
Those are all symptoms.
Symptoms,
Those are
brother. That's
symptoms.
not success. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll let you all get back, take care of the nephews and the niece, and tell them I said,
Thank you so much for having us, bro.
Yeah,
nah,
was
man.
fun.
Yeah, it was very
Thank
fun.
you.